Hi, this is Morgan Doremus with RT Book Reviews, and I'm here today at the New Jersey RWA Romance Writers Convention with Stephanie Draven, who also writes as Stephanie Dre. Hi.
Hi, thanks for having me here today.
I am so excited to talk with you because you are doing something really different in your career. But before we talk about that, I want to back up a little bit because you are very well known in the industry. You have a lot of fans. You write historical fiction going back to ancient Rome. You also write lots of paranormals. I know Nocturne for Harlequin. You use a lot of Greek mythology in your stories as kind of the starting out point. Tell me a little bit about where this fascination with history came from.
I like to think about history in terms of what it can teach us about today. And so when I write about Cleopatra Selene, I always have in my mind that she is a demonstration that the progress of women's history is not a straight line. We've had setbacks in the past, and we will again, so I think we should be wary of them.
Oh, be wary of them. So there's definitely some messages wrapped in the entertainment of your writing.
That's true. All of my romances have one thing in common, and that is that they are very smart books for very bad girls.
Ooh, bad girls. Well, we definitely, I'm gonna pick up on that because we have your newest project, which is releasing mid-January, is really exciting. It's gonna be a little steamier than maybe we've seen before from you. So you're going a little more erotica. Can you tell me that transition?
Well, this collection is going to start with the release of Love Me or Leave Me in January, which is the first of my anthology that's set in the 1920s.
Well, wait, before you go any further, I believe we have a prop. Let's see it, 1920s.
Oh, yes.
Let's put this on.
Okay.
Now we're feeling it. Now we're in the 1920s.
Absolutely. This collection I'm super excited about. It features a silent screen siren who falls in love with a World War I flying ace. It also features a socialite who falls in love with her own husband, and an ambitious shop girl who is blackmailed by her billionaire boss. And this all takes place in a time of Prohibition. It's the Jazz Age. It's soaked in liquor, and it's all about a hot sexual discovery of these three women.
Now, I am absolutely loving this because it's so rare that we get really, really great stories set in the 20s. Yet it's such a hot spot for America's history because, like you said, there's liquor and dancing and parties. Like it just seems when at least modern times we think back at this time, we're imagining like these phenomenal dresses with feathers and diamonds and kicking up your heels, and also women coming into their own with sexual liberation and finding who would be right for them. It's kind of a throwing off of the old morality and really becoming something a little bit different. Is that why you thought you could get away with the erotica? Is stick that in there?
I really did want to go that direction because of the atmosphere of the 20s. It was a time of sexual exploration and women's liberation. It was a turning point for women, and it would go back in the decades that followed it. So for me, to revisit this time when women were discovering themselves as sexual beings and becoming really aroused by whatever touched their passions, that touches my passion.
And your passion, of course, is writing. Now, you've been writing for a very long time, and you have a lot of awards to show for it, a lot of fans to show for it. What brought you into the field? What made you realize that you were a storyteller?
I used to be a lawyer, and then I decided that if I was going to lie for a living, I'd rather write fiction.
Okay, I see. There's actually a lot of lawyers that find their way into writing, and I asked one once, and she said, well, when you sit down to write a brief, there is no writer's block. You just sit down to write that. That's part of your job. And so she says sometimes that can help her, like when she has, there is no such thing as writer's block. You sit down and you just write it. When you sit down to write, is it easy for you, or do you really struggle to get the words on the page?
I am a struggler because I am always second-guessing myself on every word, and I go back and over things over and over again. But I think in the end, I'm usually really proud of the final result. So I don't mind sweating and bleeding a bit on the page. It's all for my readers.
So for this anthology that you're releasing in January, what was something that while you were writing, you really struggled with? What was something that really stepped out at you as like, wow, that it needs more attention?
Well, I found that there were certain sexual scenes in that book which didn't necessarily appeal to me personally. And so it was really the first time that I wanted to sort of go outside of my own experience by a lot and write about something that I didn't even imagine before. And it was kind of exciting and freeing and, dare I say it, liberating.
Well, as you were explaining the plots of each of the books, you've got the socialite, and you have these different characters. I was thinking back to the silent screen star, and I was thinking back, and I was thinking there's some great, really early movies, maybe movies in the 40s and the 50s, that kind of have these characters a little bit. Did you go back and watch any of maybe a Claudette Colbert or some of these movies and kind of take from them a little bit? Were they inspirations?
I actually went back further than that. I went to Clara Bow, who was a silent screen star in the 1920s, and she was the it girl, and she is the inspiration behind my heroine, Claire Cartwright. And so I was very inspired by those films, and I was surprised at how enjoyable they are, even now. I had a great time watching the it girl.
Absolutely. And I know that readers are going to have an absolutely wonderful time reading this new collection. So what else can we expect in 2013?
Well, first we have my 1920s anthology. Well, actually it's called a collection when it's just one author. And then at the end of the year, we're going to have the third book in my Cleopatra Celine's Nile trilogy.
So we're going back in history.
Back to ancient Egypt.
Fantastic. Well, I'm very much looking forward to these stories. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much.